sit down and watch TV. Familiar faces comfort me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cartoons and Cereal. I am your host, Joe, as always, and this is our weekly Saturday morning nostalgia hit. Going back, checking out the shows of our childhood. We used to wake up in the morning, pour up that fresh bowl of cereal, keep the pajamas on, and whether you were in your room, your parents' room, the living room, kitchen, it don't matter. Wherever that TV was, we was parked in front of it, eating our bowls of cereal and watching our favorite nostalgic cartoons. And this Saturday is like any other Saturday so far. Today, we are talking, in case you guys didn't notice by, again, the thumbnail or who I'm repping today, repping my boy TJ, because today we are talking about Recess. Yes, Recess. Now, unlike last week, where Static Shock was an amazing show that taught a whole bunch of morals and lessons and values and things that were kind of a guide through your childhood, Recess was simple hijinks and fun. Those 15 to 20 minutes that we honestly got felt like, sometimes it felt like an eternity on that playground, that blacktop, whatever you played on. Recess was so simple, but yet it was so nostalgic and it was so childhood for a lot of us. It jogs so many memories sitting down and watching that show. Just as a kid on Saturday morning, some episode would happen in Recess and you'd be like, damn, that happened this week in school. Like, even now going back and rewatching some of the episodes now as an adult, I've just been kind of clicking the next episode, because there's so many things that happen in that show that happened in my childhood that it's like, damn, like, they really translated it perfectly well. And TJ was one of my favorite guys in the entire show. TJ was almost like the perfect embodiment of a fourth grader, where, you know, in the 90s too, like, the dress, and he was always down for anything. He would go out, he'd be getting in trouble left and right, always getting put up against the wall, or having to sit in the box, or knock chalkboard erasers out. He was always rolling down the hill in his garbage can. He was the garbage can racing champion, playing kickball and playing football and everything else. TJ was like, he was on the jungle gym. He was like, TJ was the man. You had Spinelli, who I grew up with a couple of girls that I could probably think were some Spinellis running around. The tough girl were beating up on other boys and everything. You had the Vince, and a couple of us were kind of the Vince stereotype of just the athletic kid who could do everything. Whether it was basketball, football, foot races, especially kickball. Kickballs were a lot of us shine back in the day. We used to be like Vince, kicking the ball, which seemed into like the stratosphere half the time. We got in so much trouble between recess, and even in gym, we used to play kickball, and we used to, the gym teacher used to sometimes be like, all right, I know you can kick the ball off of the blacktop and onto this neighbor's yard, but please don't, because then you have to run around and get it. And to be honest, between gym and even recess, I feel like sending a fourth grader off school property to go get a ball was probably not the best move. But I did that a couple times myself. It was like the mark of being one of the best. When you played kickball, the ball came rolling, especially don't bounce the ball to me. Don't slow bounce the ball to me. You slow bounce the ball to me, you want me to kick that ball over the fence, because I would wind up and I'd kick that bitch clear off the entire blacktop. That thing would sail all across the blacktop, over the fence to the neighbor's yard, and we had a little brook with a bridge that went across it, and the teachers, or whoever was out there, used to be like, all right, you gotta go get it. I'd take my home run lap, and then I have to go across the brook, leave school grounds, go into some random neighbor's backyard and get the ball, run back around, and because you couldn't throw it over the fence, it was too high, plus the top of the fence was barbed wire. Wasn't jumping it. It was a big hit. It was a big wall. It was crazy. Things in the 90s, right? Recess was amazing, and it was filled with so many of the stereotypical characters that really fit with what we grew up with. I mean, you had Miss Finster, who was like, ugh. She was the terrible lunch aide, and just, I know we all had that. I know, I know, I know. We all had that terrible lunch aide who just she wants you to be in trouble. She would get you in trouble on purpose, like for no reason. It was why? Half the time we really didn't do anything. You have lunch aides that would tell you like not to run, and it's like, this is what you mean not don't run. Like, this is recess. This is the time you're supposed to get it out. And then of course you had your Randalls. Oh, you had your. I know y'all had your Randalls. We had our Randalls that would, just like in recess, that would stand next to the lunch aide and just snitch the whole time. Or just, they'd come around, they see what you're doing on purpose, and then run back to her and the lunch aides, and then the lunch aides would come over and be like, what are y'all doing? And just start yelling. And you're like, and then you'd look at the one kid, and he'd be off to the side, just like a smile on his face, walking away, and you're just like, you want to get jumped later, huh? Cool. I got you. On the walk home, because we know where you live. On the walk home, he's going to push you into a pile of leaves or something and keep pushing. You can't prove nothing. It wasn't social media at this point. It was all hearsay. I mean, of course, you still had, the boys and girls thought each other were gross. Y'all had cooties and, you played with the girls sometimes. Sometimes it was cool, but other times it was like playing. Other times the girls came in and would attack us half the time, playing tag and, again, all this other stuff. It really... Recess really hit the nail on the head with a lot of the things that they did. We didn't really have like the whole Ashley crew, at least not in my school. Like my school, I'm not gonna say we didn't have like a whole bunch of like rich snobby kids. We didn't have that in my school, so we didn't have the Ashley stereotype. We definitely had the kids that dug and played in the grass, played in the grass and the mud and the sand a lot. Not so much the grass, because we didn't have. We played mostly on a blacktop in my school, but we had days where we'd go off into like the grass, and they would definitely be digging in the sand and the mud. We all had the kids that wanted to play basketball, but we didn't even have basketball hoops. We had these two squares that were cut out, and there were a hole in the wall in the school, and that's where we played basketball. Those were our hoops. We'd have one basketball, and you better hope you got a good one, because they'd pull out like a little tub, and they would put that thing on the ground, and it was first come, first serve. There was probably one good basketball, one good football, and maybe two good jump ropes in that whole thing. So you better hope you got one of those couple items. If you didn't, you got the jump rope where the pieces were falling off because there was only one end to it. You had the deflated football. You had the kickball with the lump in it, so it kind of rolled funny. You had the basketball with a couple air bubbles in it, or the basketball that would be torn up because people were just picking at it and started peeling pieces off. That was Recess in the 90s. That definitely was. So Recess the cartoon hit the nail on the head with a lot of the different tropes and a lot of the different depictions of certain characters and age groups. We didn't have a king of the playground per se. There was no king then, obviously. And the one thing in Recess, they had sixth graders in that school too, where we only had up to fifth grade. So of course you had the fifth graders that kind of, ran the school. You've been there the longest at that point, child-wise, and it's like, you do a lot more of the fun things and less. You still do academics, and it still has its tough moments, but they realize you're going off. You're going to have your fifth grade field trips and all that stuff. So there's still some similarities there as well. It is funny to see how they depict the kindergartners in Recess as just wild animals, and being on both sides of the spectrum of, being a kindergartner and being that wild animal, being a fifth grader, and now being somebody who works in the education as a whole. You definitely see all sides of it. When I was a kindergartner, I told you guys on my last episodes, in the Pokemon episode actually, that I orchestrated a little bit of the chaos. As far as, actually, no, I don't think I've actually told that story, to be honest with you. Actually, it was something different. So yeah, being the kindergartner, and my brother was in fifth grade at the time, I actually orchestrated some chaos to get my kindergarten friends to jump my fifth grade brother and his friends. They had a ball, and we wanted the ball, and they wouldn't share with us, so they got jumped. And in the midst of that, I slid in and I took the ball that my brother threw at a kindergartner, and I ran off. And then we had the ball. We were fine. And then I think eventually I got home. I had to deal with it then or something like that. But I still kind of got away with it because I was in kindergarten. They were in 5th grade. Share with your brother, right? Older people probably did not. They probably hate their younger siblings because I got away with a lot because of that. But then being in the 5th grade side and similar things happening to you when you're in 5th grade and the kindergartners want to be like, hey, let us play with that. And we're just like, nah, go away. And then, the same thing happens to you. You get chased around the blacktop by 30 kindergartners because they're trying to steal a football from you. And eventually I see why they kind of started breaking these up by level and grade, because at the time it was just chaos where it was just all grade levels, or most of grade levels, it felt like outside at the same time. Now they've smartly broken it up. But recess really hit on a lot of that. The kindergartners, again, being education, kindergartners are really wild. They are really wild. And 5th graders do stomp around like they own the yard. So, I mean, you have that aspect. We didn't do trash can races. We didn't have that at my school. And my school was mostly blacktop. They had a playground in the front, but they really never really let us play on it. So we were just mostly playing on the blacktop. It was mostly running, we called it running bases, which was running around a baseball diamond, but we just used it for racing to see. We always had a hierarchy who was top 5 and everything. We had blacktop kickball, we had basketball, girls played jump rope, some things of the sort like that. So we never had a big rusty like recess did. Again, we had a playground in the front of the school, and they did tear it down. We were upset, and they put up a new one, and to this day they still don't let nobody really on it. I don't know why, but it is what it is. It was big and rusty, and there's also wooden parts that cause a lot of splinters and injury. So looking back, that probably was like a screaming metal death trap. Epiphany. Anyway. I mean, it's just a well-rounded show. It's fun. And honestly, thinking about it now, there's a couple jokes I heard when I was actually rewatching some shows. I was watching episodes yesterday, actually, and there's a couple jokes in there that I was like, oh, definitely went over my head as a child. But there's a girl in recess that swings, and she said they said her family went to a swingers convention, and they said, yeah, I was just like, oh, went to a swingers convention. They kind of just played it off like, obviously their kids, by swingers convention, they all, whatever. The girl's known for swinging on the swings, and her name's Swinger Girl in the show. But, swinger convention, interesting. They had episode, they had back to school night or parent night, where some parents, were embarrassing to their kids, and it was cool. Spinelli was embarrassed about her parents, and it ended up, they embarrassed her, but then at the end of the day, she was like, oh, I lied to everybody and told everybody you guys were secret government spies, and they laughed it off. And then the dad, his foot actually turned up being a phone, and he pulled out an antenna, and he was like 007 or something like that, and he was just like, I can't take that mission right now. So it's funny how they throw certain things in there that are urban legends to the show, but they actually end up kind of being true. There's another one that got abducted by aliens, and at the end of the episode, he actually ended up getting dropped off by aliens. There was always the myth when we were kids of like, what's in the teacher's lounge? Like, what's possibly in there? We always want to know. And then when you finally get to go in and you see it's just like a refrigerator, probably a TV that doesn't work, a microwave, coffee machine, tables. It's like, this is it? Like, it was so depressing finding that out as a child. And I mean, that's how the recess episode went. They finally got into the teacher's lounge, and they saw it was just like a broken coffee machine and all that stuff, so they left. Now, it was funny that after the teacher went back in there, watched to make sure the coast was clear, and he pressed a button to the broken coffee machine, and it opened this whole big door. And then the teachers were back there, and there were swimming pools back there, teachers getting massages. It's funny. As a child, you really do think like that. As a child, you really do think like there's teachers back there, there's having their own little parties back there. Shoot, I used to think when I was in kindergarten, the teachers just lived in the school. I don't think they went home. Didn't think like, oh, you guys have families? Like, never thought the teachers went home until it was like, yeah, we go home. We have our own children. We have husbands and wives, and we have a life. We don't just live here. So it is one of those shows that it debunks a lot of like the child myths growing up, and it talks about going out and kids playing, and that's something you don't see anymore. So it's awesome to see that, and that's really was like my generation, going outside and playing, getting in trouble, but playing on the blacktops and the playgrounds, and just being a kid again. Recess is an awesome show. It's an awesome watch if you've never seen it before, and it's an awesome rewatch if you've seen it before and you want to take that stroll back down memory lane to trigger some of those things in your nostalgia, in your childhood, I should say, that just you may have forgotten about in the rat race of life growing up. But I want to thank you guys all for joining me on this trip through some nostalgia. Again, loved Recess, and who knows what comes next week? I don't know. To be honest, I never know. Let me know what you thought about Recess. Let me know what your favorite characters were in the show. Again, had to rock that TJ Detweiler one time. He was like the epitome of a 90s kid to me. Love Spinelli. That's two people you want on your team right there. You're going to want TJ and Spinelli. Vince is a good guy. Gus had him and Mikey had their moments where it's like, kind of losing some points with me. Gretchen's cool, but I never understood why Gretchen hung out with them. But she was smart as hell, but then she just was like, didn't want to go off and do anything with the smartness at the time. She just wanted to kind of be a cool kid. So, we always have your tropes, and you look back at your own group of friends, and you can kind of compare, like, yeah, we had those same groups. So let me know your thoughts on Recess. Who are your favorite characters? What show should I do next? Let me know down below in the comments. Till then, keep it locked to the channel, and time for Recess. Race to the blacktop. Peace.